they shoot
Mhm.
off like a rocket, and 700 kids are at their tryout the first year, and they're going to be the best thing that's ever happened. And then 3 years later, they ain't nowhere to be found.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many of those I've seen.
Yep. Now we talking transfer portal, but the real question is, when does the AAU portal open and close?
It's after that first week, you
After
know. It's after that first weekend when everybody starts playing, and in Texas it opens quicker, man, because
Yeah,
y'all
cuz
start playing in like a
prime
week or
event.
so.
This in 2 weeks.
Yep.
You got the well, in March you got the prime event that will be happening or that has happened. And yeah, I feel like I say that's when it's going to open just a little bit. But after live period, that's when it busts wide
Yeah.
open.
That after that first week of play, it opens a little bit because some parents will look up and say, "Oh, my kid's not a good fit for this team," or "Oh, there's 15 kids on this team," or "Oh, my kid's not going to get to play much because coaches love the other kids, and I got to go somewhere else." So that'll happen at some after the first week, or "Hey, the team's not as good as the coach told me they were going to be."
Mhm.
But the floodgates open after the first live period because that's when you find out who really has college coach connections and who doesn't,
Yep.
right? Because that's when you're all that you're walking around and your team just played and nobody watched you play, and you're walking right next to the guy who offered you a spot that you didn't take, and there's 45 coaches at his game, and you're thinking, okay, something's wrong here. So it'll open up big after that first live period because there will be plenty of parents who are then at that point looking and saying, okay, I got sold a bill of goods. What do we need to do?
Yep, yep. So I want to help the parents out just for a little bit.
Mhm.
It might be a little bit too late for most because I think a lot of people got their teams set. But what which you just said earlier, like parents don't know to ask the question of, these kids sticking, these kids staying that's going to college. What questions would you say parents should be asking club directors before choosing a team?
First thing I always say is ask for your last 2 to 3 years of alumni. Who was on your team for the last 2 or 3 years? Where did they go? Okay. Then I would suggest to a parent, go look up each of those schools, see if the kid is still there. Okay. That's the very first thing I'd ask. The second thing I would ask is, what's your live schedule look like? Where are you going? Okay. And then luckily, almost all of these live events have their own websites anymore. You can go on those live events and do plenty of research about the Clash of the Clubs or whatever it is that you're thinking about going to, and see if it's a solid event or not, a good event. And the other thing I would do is, if you're at a school that has had a big name recruit in the past, your school 2 years ago, Sally was a Division 1 kid at your school. Reach out to Sally's parents on social media and just ask them, hey, what were some of the things you noticed in the summer? What are some good events that you guys experienced? Because some of this stuff is going to be stuff parents just won't be able to know to ask for themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
got to find out who's on the team. And everybody's going to say, well, you got to ask what system they're going to run. Well, the system evolves a lot of times once you get the kids in. Not
Mm.
everybody, like, we run a system. We're going to run if you played me 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and you play me tomorrow, you gonna know what I'm gonna run because it is what it is, right? But not everybody runs like that. So asking a club what kind of system you run doesn't always work, because a lot of times a club may have to evolve their system based on who they actually get in the gym. So
All
it
right.
might be, oh, we're 4 out, 1 in, but by the time tryouts happen and everybody gets in the gym, you got 3 good post players. Well, guess what? Now you're playing 3 out, 2 in, because you got to take advantage of your high-low situation. So the asking what system they run doesn't always work. The other thing that I always, and this is just me, but I'm just me. Anytime we're getting a recruit in, I'll ask them give me their top 3 schools. Hey, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to a kid, give me your top 3 schools. Then I'll reach out to those top 3 schools and say, hey, have you heard of this kid yet? Yada, yada, yada. And get response. And I'll talk to the parents about it. So that would be a suggestion. Hey, these are her top 3 schools or top 5 schools. Do you have connections there? Who do you know there? That
Now,
if
what
she
if
wanted
those
to,
schools are? Here are my top three schools. They're Baylor, Texas, and Texas Tech.
that, that's where the honesty comes in.
Mm.
That the AAU coach has got to be able to say, I can reach out. Or the first thing I would say is, go look at that roster. Do they got anybody that looks like you? If you're 5'2", they got any other 5'2" guards?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 5'10" post player, it's a hard thing to do. And parents, I know why parents are, always gun shy, and they want to make sure they're making the right choice. I will
Mm-hmm.
tell you that going to the biggest club isn't always the best.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep that in mind. You might say to yourself, well, This is a Nike club. Yeah, but they only have one EYBL team.